I was going to put some music for you all, and then Pink just came on. Let me change that.
How's that everybody is so quiet? Hello, everybody.
Can you guys hear my music? I'm sure we're going to have to wait a couple of minutes to be fair to everybody, right? Hello, Olivia from New York. It's actually a good idea. Do you all mind putting the state that you're representing on the chat box, please?
And I forgot how you change your name. I know one of those clicks that you just shared, but I guess I would just go like this.
Cynthia, if you go to the top corner of your picture that has the 3 little dots, you should be able to choose.
Just say stop video, mute my audio, plan video, hide self video. That's what I thought I could do it like that.
Yeah, usually that's how it works.
Sometimes it takes.
You are joining in, you can put your state, the state that you represent on the chat box. It's exciting to see all the faces.
Yeah, I don't.
I see some folks from Oregon, North Carolina. Hello, Gina. Hello, Scott. We're going to give everybody about a minute before we get started. Bianca, do you want to go ahead and put the presentation up for me?
Can you make me a co-host?
I believe you should be able to now. California, what are you doing? Are you racing again?
Yeah, I've got R2-T2 back here taking the pilot while I hang out with you all.
All right. Bianca, can you get it up, or should I go ahead and try? Has everybody put the state that they represent on the chat box, just to make sure I know Illinois was not able to join us due to an emergency meeting, so hopefully everything's going okay there. right, so let's get started. Hopefully all of you can see the PowerPoint presentation in front of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are having this call because we are going to continue with having a virtual convening for our first National Juntos 4-H convening that we were going to have. And this has been something that we have planned and yearned for years, I think, Cynthia, and I don't know if Andrew has joined, but I know that this was something that we had dreamed of for a couple of years now. So now that we're dealing with what we're dealing with, the whole nation and around the world, we know that it's the best thing for us to move forward with a virtual experience, and that's what this call is all about. What does it look like to have a Juntos 4-H virtual convening, especially since it was going to be the first time that a lot of us were going to be in the same room. But we don't want to completely cancel the event. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect and to move the program forward, as we know we need to during these times specifically, as I know some of you have been working with our families and continue to work with youth development and within extension. We know we're seeing it every day, the need for our programs. So just for us to have a little bit of information on what we want to cover, Bianca, if you could move to the next slide. During our call, I really want us to be intentional about sharing how we're feeling about this convening. We have an opportunity to really think and reshape how this convening, this virtual experience can be an asset for all of us in all the states that we're implementing Juntos. But before that, we really want to just hear from you to see where you are today. We also want an opportunity to give updates, not just from North Carolina, but any state that wishes to. Just talk a little bit about Juntos after COVID-19, any updates that you might have for us. And then we really want to focus in our time on this virtual convening, our objectives for it, and what does the new schedule look like. And this is where I definitely need your input. Some of you have a lot of experience running virtual conferences and webinars, and so this is where your expertise are needed. We just did our first ever academy virtually, and it was a success, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but definitely want to hear from you. So I do want to also introduce our NC State staff here that's supporting the effort. Bianca Wall is the state coordinator for us, so she supports all of the counties that are grant funded to implement and those that are sustainable. We also have Cynthia Aguilar, one of our co-founders, and also a partner with us. We have Juan Cortez, who's a graduate student who supported big time with the experience that the youth just had through Academy. We have Casey Strange, who is our evaluator. We have Nancy Marks, who does all of our finance. We have Jess, you're here too. She's one of our assistant program assistants, and Natalie, I believe, is also on the call. So you will hear from them during different times in this call. So just so you know, that's part of the team here. So with no further ado, I'll let Bianca lead us in the next activity.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And I'd like for everybody to kind of just take a second, and we're going to do a little refocus, because I know this always kind of helps me. And if everybody would just kind of take a breath, take a deep breath, and kind of just think about, as you're breathing, like think about what it is that you're hoping to get from this meeting and what it is that you would like to see come out of it for yourself and for your county moving forward. So thank you for taking a breath with me. And I'm gonna actually move into a exercise where hopefully we will hear from all of you and get some feedback from how you are feeling right now. So if you are not familiar, if you could pull up menti.com on your phone or on your computer, whatever is more comfortable for you. And I'm pulling up the website right now. I'm gonna put, Natalie, if you could put the code in the chat box while I pull up the Menti presentation, that would be super.
Already did. I put where they go and the code.
Thank you very much.
You can share your screen from the Menti.
Trying to find it in all my tabs.
I'm sorry, I don't see it in the chat. If you put it in early, it doesn't show up for the people who were a little late.
Okay, I just put it again.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will share my screen again. Okay, so you should see the question. How are you feeling?
Oh no, somebody's confused already.
So we have a lot of, let's see, tired seems to be the biggest word. It is Monday. Oh, happy is now. That's better. That's positive. Okay. So this is how we're feeling right now. A mixture, which makes sense. So if we move on to the next question. How are you feeling about Juntos in your state right now? I see mostly positive words, which is absolutely wonderful. But it's okay if you're not, because let's be honest, you know, there are definitely some challenges ahead. Yeah, I definitely resonate with uncertain. A lot of things are uncertain right now. But what's not uncertain is the fact that our students and our families still need us. They still need that support. Okay. I'm going to move on to our last question. How do you feel about a virtual convening? We will definitely be sad that we can't see everyone in person. We're definitely looking forward to having everyone in the room and being able to share all of our ideas and our hopes, but we can still share them. Zoom fatigue, oh, that is real. Well, I want to thank everybody for sharing. We see a lot of positive words that look bigger than the negative ones. Not saying that those negative feelings aren't valid, because they are. So thank you everybody for your responses. We're gonna go back into our presentation. I hope that you come away, we're gonna survey you again at the end and we'll see if your answers have changed.
Thank you, Bianca. So I think it's definitely important for us to know how we're feeling right now with everything that's going on, and specifically as we have the conversation in regards to us being together in September in a different way. I really want to engage in this conversation of being excited about the opportunities. But before we move to that, I want to give you a little bit of an update on how Juntos is doing after COVID-19. And I definitely want to open it up for any state that wishes to share how their experience has been after probably mid-March, right? That's when everything went down. So here in North Carolina, we have had the opportunity to engage our families and youth through virtual experiences. It hasn't been easy, but during the academy, as most of you know, we are only able to bring in a certain percentage of our students to campus based on grants. This year, due to the fact that we were having a virtual experience, instead of having 6 counties participate in this experience, we were able to invite more students from other counties. So 11 total counties participated in our virtual experience. That's great because they had a great experience, but it also leaves us with students who want to be reached through the program, and a lot of work ahead of us if we want to be able to reach those families as well. We were also able to engage our families through a family night. And this was interesting because we did it from the state level, which allowed all our counties to participate. This was something that I personally was very nervous about, just because I know how connection is so important with our communities. I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of connection that was made in an hour's time of a family night. You all know that our family nights run about 2.5+ hours. So to have just an hour experience and be very quick with it, and have the youth and the parent connecting through a phone because maybe they didn't have a computer, but being face-to-face connected so they could see what was in the screen was pretty awesome too. That there was a want for that connection. And it also provided an opportunity for all our counties that are implementing the program to see each other, right? So families from county to county saw each other virtually. We also had clubs. So our coordinators in the local level were able to have virtual club nights with our students. And what we heard over and over is that our students really needed it. They needed that connection. One of the things that happened here because of COVID is that most of our kids, specifically in the rural communities, started working right away. They were working in the fields, and school did not become a priority anymore. So to have a coordinator that was still connected, that was giving the information in Spanish when they didn't understand, when the parents didn't understand what was going on in the school, was a huge win for the program. And I think the schools were able to see that as well. One of the things that we were able to do through all these virtual experiences were record all of these experiences. So again, we haven't tracked who has gone back and watched these recordings, but they are available to the community. So those are all some of the great, I think the great impacts that we've had, the opportunities that opened up. We have had to be adaptable and resilient. We have found that we know that our program has an element that needs to change. We know that this virtual experience is something that we need to increase, not that we need to take away the impact of face-to-face. the challenges that we face in the future as you all also think about implementation next year, the fact that our programs are after school. In North Carolina, there's a lot of hesitation to run after school programming now, right? Some of you might be hearing the same things. Family meals, okay? If you think about how we do family meals during Juntos, it's like the key component of people connecting and eating together and having a buffet. Are we doing takeout boxes now? What does that look like? Registration and surveys evaluation, right? What does that look like? We're struggling to get all our parents to complete the surveys as well. Partnership meetings that should be happening right now are happening through Zoom. So that's a lack of connect, right? And then the reality is a lot of our youth live in rural communities where Wi-Fi is not easy to get. We worked very hard to ensure that every student that applied for Academy had a laptop, and we made it work. We did some crazy things, but we made it work. But is that doable, right? When we think about the school year. So what does that look like? So I want to open it up to other states that might want to share some of their opportunities that they've seen and then some of the challenges that they've seen.
It's Olivia from New York. How are you all? For us, the challenge was the kids participating in the Zooms or the Meets. We had issues with privacy for Zoom, and then a lot of the kids didn't have either internet or a device. Our school was lucky enough that they have Apple devices, but not all families came to pick them up. So there was a good lump sum of students that didn't have their device. But because the DOE is such a large entity, they purchased I think over $1 million worth of iPads that were internet ready, and they have them as lenders. So the parent, or rather the school, had us request the iPads for them, and they'll have it until they return to school. So T-Mobile has collaborated with the DOE, and they will continue to give them free internet readiness on their iPads until they return back to school.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing, Olivia. Anyone else?
I'll just share in California. We had similar challenges to New York, particularly those students who, like, we could access them. We had to have the early questions for the school was, could we use Zoom, or is Google, Hangouts easier, whatever that is, because of technology purposes. So if they don't have access to administrative rights, they're not able to download any additional software to their computers, and they didn't like the Zoom at that time, had some really strong negative security aspects to it. So once we started overcoming those and conversing with the folks in general about what we were trying to accomplish, we had 2 of our 5 counties were able to pick up and continue on with it, with virtual programming. The other counties, for a myriad of reasons, the challenge continued to be access to internet and access to quality, to at least a device that could host what we're trying to accomplish. So we've got, even though it's California, and I can say the same thing for New York, we know there's those rural areas, those rural communities that will never have, it's like the telephone. In California, there was a place that didn't get a telephone line until 1985. And so we have internet access where they're still doing dial-up. So there will never be an accessible time right now for them to join us. So those have been our challenges, and we're looking at ways to do that. So the rural counties are less hit with the COVID-19, and they're moving a little faster towards the reopen process. You've seen news, California's relooking at closing down again, just many states are. And so it's so unpredictable right now. We will try to always lean on the side of risk and safety prior to meeting in person and potentially, you know, having some infected individuals, whether it's the adults or youth, whatever. So we've moved to our academy coming up at the end of this month, end of July, excuse me, is virtual and in person. So we have some counties that are going to do a little bit of both, where they're going to have the kids come in groups of 10 or less, but the other counties are going to do completely online. So we're trying to find what works for us. But again, it's so uncertain. It's, again, that word will come up from now probably for the next year and a half.
Yep. And thank you both, New York and California, for sharing. I think the most important element that I've gotten out of this is that there's an opportunity to meet the needs that schools are not meeting. And that was obvious this past semester when we implemented Juntos virtually. There are things that the school, because of resources or whatever reason, are not reaching to our communities. So we have to be intentional right now. And that creates an opportunity. And that's what I want us to think about as we continue this conversation is what are the opportunities that can come from us having a conversation for 2 days. You can switch it to the next slide. As a national program that's meeting a particular population and the needs that this population faces, not only in our individual states, but as a nationwide. So if we look at the objectives that we have talked about now twice in our Zoom calls as we've been planning for this convening, we know we have to know why Juntos and why it's worth for it to be sustainable, right? Those conversations for us who are in the states that are interested in Juntos, that are implementing Juntos right now, we know the whys. We need to engage more people into the whys, sustainability and why Juntos. The vision for what we're calling this is a national program that that's ours. North Carolina was the base, but we've always said this program is not just North Carolina because it involves families from all over the country at this point. And so that's exciting. That's exciting work that we can engage in a conversation on. And then also for us here as the leading state, it's really important for us to really focus in on the PAC, the purpose, accountability, and communication. Only because in order to do this work better for our families, we've got to work together to build on that purpose, accountability, and communication for ourselves as professionals. So those are the objectives of the convening for September. Next slide, please. So just wanted to remind you all that back in, gosh, now see, I'm getting all my, was it February that we canceled? March, I don't know, when did we cancel? Anyway, these are the states that committed to being part of the September convening. These are the states that were part of a call that said, yes, September 23rd through the 25th, we're committing those dates to attend the convening. So I just wanted to bring back all the states that are committed to this convening and the success of it. Next slide. So where are the opportunities in this National Juntos virtual convening? This is where we start the conversation. We are going to share what we think is a plan of what it would look like to have a virtual convening, but we welcome your feedback as we have this conversation. So next slide. All right. So I'm going to give you some time to take this in. I do have a question for you. Actually, go back to the next slide, to the past slide. Yeah, thanks. So what do you think are the opportunities here before we go into the schedule? What do you think are the opportunities in this virtual experience? You can put a
increased opportunity for a voice, and I'll put that in the chat pod. So people who wouldn't have been able to come to the original convening can now participate and have and provide input. I'm gonna put that in the chat pod, sorry. Other folks can talk.
I think another thing I'd like to add is now with, the additional challenges that we're facing with COVID-19 more than ever, programs like Juntos need to exist. And so outside of, having the conversation about us as a national organization, how can we brainstorm and help each other out to help solve how we're going to be moving forward this upcoming academic year?
Anything else?
In the chat box, we have increased individual participation and voice. Yeah, oh, you already put it in. Sorry, Russell.
That's all right.
Okay. The reality is, for me, it's an opportunity to also record everything that happens. So, we'll have a history of what took place. The other thing that I want to mention is that there are new states that are wanting to implement Juntos. So is that an opportunity for them? Is it too soon because they haven't been part of the conversation? That's an opportunity, right? It really gives us, like Russell said, like an opportunity to think, who do we want at the table? Who do we want to be part of the conversation? And to listen to some of the speakers that are going to be present, because we're not going to be able to bring those speakers in, 2 years from now or whatever it might be. There's an interest right now for specific leaders to be at the table. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Sorry. Okay, so when we look at what day one would look like, sorry, I'm using the look word too much here, but when we're thinking about the schedule, we really want to answer the why Juntos 4-H. This was an opportunity originally to have Dr. Scott Reed, who was somebody instrumental in the state of Oregon that moved the needle forward within Juntos there. And I know Scott's on the call, and he was going to be our keynote speaker because of the work that he did to advance Juntos. And then also he has the power of being somebody that others look up to him within the extension body. And so that was important for us to have that extension voice. We were going to have our own North Carolina state extension leader be part of that conversation. We were going to have Lumina Foundation be part of that conversation. And that was very intentional as we think of them as the foundation that sets the stage for college access programs. They're one of the biggest ones. So it's very important that they know that we're having this, and they do, and that she's going to be a part of it, right? She needs to hear our voices. So again, having the university level folks listen in is very important. And we're going to create about a 3-hour time frame for us to have this conversation on why Juntos 4-H and what it means for it to be sustainable. The other element that you all will get information on is, what do your individual states look like? And some of you have looked at these numbers, but when it comes to education and Latinx, and why is Juntos so important when we add the 4-H into it? Why is this piece of education and access so important? And what are the researchers saying behind it, right? Within your states. So you're gonna get a presentation that actually lays out information within your state that makes sense as you go and have this conversation with your future partners and future funders. So the why Juntos 4-H is really just bringing in that leadership that can really have that conversation. We also want to create a time for you all to present what Juntos looks like in your state, what has worked. Some of you are small in the sense of you might be in just one county, But just because you're small and you're working in one county does not take away from the work that you've been doing for a number of years in this area. So something that we can all learn from. And then we definitely that day will be focused on sustainability and what does that look like within the leadership level and the coordinators that are working with the schools.
Diana, did we want to talk about the schedule of convening, the days?
Yeah, go ahead. Go up. I think I'm looking at two screens here, so that's where my confusion is. So quickly here, so we would have a 2-day convening. It would be a total of 13 hours, so 6.5 each day. We would start, East Coast time, we'd start around 11, we would end around 5:30. West Coast, we'd start at 8 a.m. and we'd end around 2:30, so you got the rest of the day to do whatever you need to do. And then we definitely would follow that up with a post-convening would be a video that we would create, access to a national drive that we will have in place for every state, and a post-survey to gather information on your experience. All right, sorry for skipping that slide. All right, so day 2, any questions on day 1? Any questions on that? Okay, so it really looks the same, very similar to what day 1 and part of day 2 looked like before. It's just condensing it, of course, because of time. So day 2, this is where we start the conversation around the Juntos components. And so just like as if you were going to be present here in North Carolina, you all were going to be able to select the 2 components that you wanted to get more information on and be able to give feedback. Same deal here. You're not going to be able to do all 4 just because of time's sake. So that's why it's really important for you as a team, if you just, when you think about who's joining from your state, to be intentional about who's attending where so that you get all the information. We'll definitely be covering evaluation and the common measures conversation that we had earlier, and we'll continue that conversation at the convening. It's really important that we do that for many, many reasons. And then we'll end the convening with, just really having a deep conversation about what this purpose, accountability, and communication looks like, and what are the next steps. So for us, it's really an opportunity for us to think about, we didn't get to meet face to face, but we know we need to in the future. So what does that look like? Do we meet at a specific conference that we're all very excited in attending and we can all agree that we'll attend? Or, do we think about what does it look like to have a convening either in North Carolina or somewhere else when life gets a little bit more normal, if that will ever happen again. I'm hopeful though. Any questions on day 2? Are the scheduled times, are they pretty, are they good? Are you guys like freaking out? It's too much, we're good?
So we all did note earlier a little bit of zoomed outness. However, I can say that as long as, if we can fit in, I say you and I meant if we were able to keep it as interactive, engaging as possible, so it's not these just meeting with one person speaking and everyone else listening, unless that's the intent, that you engage all those reactions, or if we find another way to do this, whether it's another kind of platform or not, that if it's engaging, then you can have people doing this. I think about it like a conference in that I like to go into a room for an hour and 10 minutes and have a conversation with whatever the topic is. I'll leave and have the walking conversation to my next meeting and go to my next meeting, and then I'll come out and do lunch and shit, and, chat and with everybody, sit and chat with everybody out there. So there's got to be that opportunity for the networking to occur, sort of, free flow in there. So maybe the networking's built in. We've done a lot of these and we've looked at a lot of the ways to do this. I've got a website or a program I'd like to share if I can later on about these virtual conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we welcome any feedback.
Yeah.
And you know, Ross is basically just saying it can't just be you, Diana, presenting because you're kind of boring. So it will
Yeah.
not just be me.
Yeah. When I say you, I meant us, the other yous.
There's no way I could do this by myself. So that's why we have all these people. Look at all these awesome people joining
Oh, yeah.
our call today, right? So yes, Diana will be emailing you to let you know what part of the convening you will be leading or doing something. So
Fiona, can I add that note that I shared with you when we were talking is how this year it does not mean I'm very limited with technology, right? So for me to say that I really enjoyed a virtual conference takes a lot because I'm actually community and rural development, and we did have our national conference, but now 3 weeks ago, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I felt that I connected with people maybe better than in person. And I had gone to, I don't know how many national conference, because it had to do what Ross said. You know, they did a lot of breakout during the session. They did a lot of activities. So I'm pretty sure, you know, it's going to be wonderful. Again, we all working together and again, and even with them, you know, having the academy, they already proved, you know, it is possible. And I'm sure all of you had your own experience in your counties, but I'm really excited about that, actually.
I know Andrew's going to have to use all his technology skills as well. So he's being quiet right now, but so anyway, somebody asked about youth. What do we do? Do we have something for youth? Is it crazy to have something for youth? Well, I'm going to let Juan, who just ran an amazing virtual academy, talk to you about the possibility of including youth in our convening.
Hi, everybody. I'm Juan. Thanks for the intro, Diana. So as you know, we aren't going to be able to have the full 2-day experience that we were hoping to have. And so instead, we're going to have it on the same days that we're thinking. Wednesday's September the 23rd and Thursday, September the 24th. And as you can see, there's a bit of a drop off compared to the 6.5 hours that the adult tracks will be doing to 2 hours each day. And the reason for that is, as you can see, for the times that we're thinking, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the Eastern Standard Time, which would make it 4 to 6 Pacific. And the reason we chose those hours is because we are cognizant of the fact that students might be in class in September, and we want to make sure that if students have after school activities, they have enough time to actually come in and like be part of this convening. And so that's why we had those hours as like estimated hours that we wanted to talk about. And we will be having a survey that we'll be sending out. So these are some like ideas that we were thinking of for students. And the reason it's so late on the Eastern Standard Time is because there is that 3-hour difference for the Pacific Standard Time. And we really want to make sure that all the students are together because this is a national thing. And we want to make sure that all the voices are heard together. Our big goal for this is to make sure that all the students truly feel like they're part of a unified group and they can make their clubs unified in that way. Can we go on to the next slide? And so what we had originally planned was a couple things. We had the Y Juntos 4-H, and we actually had a message from Dr. Yoder about 4-H leadership beforehand. We also had a service project. We were gonna have students bring books to convening as well as running their own book drive, campus experience, getting to understand NC State. We had a Latinx leadership styles where students can actually understand how their culture affects their own leadership abilities. Poetry blockout where they would actually all work together to come up with one sentence and make a giant poetry talking about 4-H as a national project. And then actually mapping out their national vision. So where they wanted to take the club. They would see from each other different things that different clubs were doing and try to see if we can try to standardize something as one giant Juntos project. So as you can see for the virtual experience, we left it a little blank and we did that intentional because we can't do all of this. Some of the things that we know we can't do are the campus experience because students won't be on campus with us. So that's one that we can easily kind of cut off. And so we wanted to actually talk to you all and see which of these do you feel like is something that would be really beneficial for students. I know mapping the National Juntos 4-H vision is something that we really want to stress, but we also wanted to check in with you all, see if you had any suggestions or ideas of where we wanted to actually drive this national convening. And so I definitely want to hear everyone's input, and I can also talk more in depth about certain projects that we have that were planned. I see some stuff coming in. Leticia, I see leadership. Okay. I take it that means you're for the Latinx leadership component?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome, perfect. Okay. And I'm just gonna be writing these down as I'm hearing them, because I definitely want to make sure everyone's input is taken into account.
Juan, I noted the ability to express through poetry, music, written word, video, whatever, stuff. Like right now, there's so much stuff that people want to express and they don't have a place. And we can put some boundaries, of course, in there, but whether it's about culture, whether it's about how they're feeling about life or the inequities from where they're at, whatever that looks like, some kind of expression.
Yeah.
That actually pushes towards that social emotional support as well.
Yeah. Poetry, music. I just read what you put in. Thank you. For the service project. So thank you for putting that in, Jose. I actually really wanted to talk about this really quickly. One of the ideas that Diana and the rest of us all had as a group was we wanted to keep that service component in there because we wanted to make sure that like the idea of giving back to your community is still in there. And so we had the idea of asking students to actually come to convening with an idea or two of what they wanted to do as like their big community service project possibly for the year. And maybe as soon as all the students kind of come together and start talking about the different ideas that they have, voting on which idea they want to take up nationally. And through that voting system, making sure that they all kind of are working on that one community service project in their communities across America. And so maybe even being able to use social media to like communicate with each other and see like, how's your project going along? Like, this is how far we've made it on our community service project. And being able to actually feel like you're working on something together, even though we're separated by boundaries. And that we wanted to see how people kind of felt about that idea. And I've seen some people have started putting in the chat, so let me just double check.
Can I add a question, a comment? Is going back to the youth, how do you guys feel about the including diversity and inclusion in a space of time to talk about? And I'm mostly talking because I'm involved with other projects. Sorry, my dog, of course, is
Everybody's working from home. It's all right.
I'm happy, right? At least I'm not presenting a webinar like I happened the other day. Now, but going back to, other initiatives that involve all this, what is happening across the nation. And, it's at least in other space that's in the needs of, create an opportunity for them to talk and share. So I don't know how you feel about, or it will distract too much from Juntos.
Cynthia, what do you think about that as a well-facilitated discussion? So either we provide some topics, or maybe they provide some topics to us ahead of time in registration of things that they want to talk about, so that then you have somebody who can coordinate that. I'm probably getting down into the weeds a bit too much right now, but sort of a more facilitated discussion.
Okay, so like a facilitated discussion specifically on diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah.
Okay, let me write that one down.
Diana and Juan, I think Maru has some, Maru, right, Diana? Maru Gonzalez, she had a lot of resources, and she had done a lot of sessions for you, helping youth through this conversation. So maybe that could be a resource with activities and all that.
Yeah, I think that, Ross, you bring up a good point, and it's the fact that through registration, we could get a lot of information from our students and where they are, which will help in guiding us. And also, I know just because of the presenter that will be doing the Latinx leadership style, she will implement some of that diversity and inclusion language that needs to be there for our kids.
I also want to sort of take the other side of that, be aware too that they may be completely exhausted from having those discussions as well. So just be prepared that it may not happen.
Yep. Thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, I think it's important to get it from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that.
All right. It looks like we actually have some I've seen a lot of things that kind of pop up that are really popular. The Latinx leadership seems to be the one that's really popular across the board. I see a lot of expression through art. So I feel like everyone is liking the idea of block out poetry. And once again, just I want to make sure everyone understands what that is. So every county or every state that comes by and their Juntos representative, the youth will be able to like come up with one sentence that describes their county or their Juntos experience. And through writing that sentence, they'd be creating a unified poem through that. So they'd make a poem that talks about Juntos nationally, but using the words of each different state. And I wanted to see how people felt about that idea. Because that's what we had originally for the what was planned, but I just want to gauge the temperature of the room and see how people feel about that as the art project or possibly something different.
Interesting to see the commonalities and the differences. I mean, obviously, the commonalities is what's going to pull it together to make that, you know, that national vision. But recognizing where those differences are and why each state has those differences. Yeah. I like the block out poetry for sure.
Okay. And you're right, differences would be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I like Olivia's, you know, and I think about the community service project, possibly a touch of older students guiding the younger students in our clubs through that service project, whatever that ends up being. One thing for you all to think about are the students that you will invite to attend this and being intentional about the students.
I like the idea of a virtual talent show. That'd actually be really fun to see. Virtually. Awesome. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other ideas or any other input they want to put into what we might think of for programming?
I mean, I think we're thinking for the youth who would come to convening, hopefully they are already aware, but are you thinking that as like the community service project? Maybe like teaching them about what Juntos is? Sarah?
It could be. I guess I didn't think about it as part of the community service project, but it certainly could be. But just thinking like that we would be invited from Wisconsin would be completely new to the program. So just an opportunity to get them excited about Juntos and what it could be.
Yeah. And I will say, just from the experience we just had with Academy, with some of the kids not knowing Juntos or being part of a Juntos club that participated, the unity that took place just because they were experiencing everything together, for us, we didn't sense that they felt like they were not part of it. So Sarah, I would encourage you, if you have students that you're engaging in and that are interested, definitely they could be the kids that get connected and they're going to leave with a vision, and that's going to be your start. So I encourage that. Yeah, so Andrew said they could collaborate to create a video to tell the new people about the program. So yeah. At the end of the day, they need to create it, right? Not us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So I think Jill, you're going to have to leave us. Do you have any last words? We were going to ask you to have your boss give the kids a message. So if she could record a message to our kids or be present. That's the only thing I have to say before you take off. I don't know if she took off already, but.
I wonder if she could also get somebody from New York Life, one of the big wigs.
So they can give us more money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think Suzanne or Marisol for New York Life. I mean, I don't know. I know Suzanne speaks to the big wigs, but I don't know how much further she will. But I can definitely invite them to.
Yeah, I think that there should definitely be a message from National 4-H as Juntos 4-H program. If we're gonna, call it Juntos 4-H, and they need to give a message to our students nationally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They belong to this organization.
That's right. So we all agree on that. We'll make sure Jillian gets that message across. All right, Juan, keep going.
Yeah, so now we want to actually vote on the youth track. So we have a bit of a couple of ideas, and I wanted to see like if we wanted to formulate now like which ideas we wanted to go forward with the youth track. Let's see. One moment. Sorry, give me one moment. Yeah. I think for right now, sorry, for this slide, we wanted to see which states wanted to commit to sending 1 or 2 students to the national convening. So just trying to see like, in regards to the time, in regards to students that you might have in mind, and any specific extracurricular activities, do you know if you'll be able to like think of a student or 2 that can participate in this and represent their state at the national convening? I see California at least 2. Thank you, Russell. I'll write these down. Thank you, Adam. That's right, Russell. And that's why that time is so late. We want to make sure we're inclusive of everyone's time zones. It's one of the things that's trying to work with, not only nationally, but different yep. Time zones are real tricky. Awesome.
So for North Carolina, and for the states that have like California, where you have different counties, we do, we will allow for 2 students per county. I know, Gina in Oregon, you guys have multiple counties as well. I think more than anything, the important thing is being intentional on the students that you invite.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. Awesome. And I just want to double check. So far, I got California, I got 2, Wisconsin 2, Oregon 2, Idaho 2, New York 2, and for us, we got 2 as well. Did I miss anybody? Okie dokie. Huh. That is a good question. So since it's going to be virtual, can we invite additional teams from other sites?
I think Diana said we were, for sites who do have multiple counties, then yes, you can invite students from multiple counties.
Just be intentional with the kids that you invite.
Yeah.
We want to make sure this time is really productive for them. And obviously, if we have a huge cohort of students, it's going to be much more difficult for them to connect. So we want to be intentional about the students who come.
Those leaders that you have in those particular counties, for example.
Thank you, Nevada.
I don't know if Missouri and Washington are missing, so I don't know if they're on the call or we're not able to join. But.
think this is a good list, though. I got a good amount of people that are able to send some youths. And like Diana was saying, if you're going to be sending them, make sure it's the ones that you know that are going to be here wholly 100%. We understand that that time commitment is something to ask of students, especially because it's so late in certain counties, in certain areas. So just making sure that they understand the time commitment and that here to represent their state, they're here to represent their Juntos Club, and they want to move this forward.
They may get some swag out of it if they participate. They may get something out of it.
Always fun. Swag is always fun.
Okay, so let's continue the conversation on what's next. So for us here, what we intend to do is send out a registration link or form, Google form that will go out to all of you. It'll be for youth, one for youth and one for adults. So you can expect that after July 20th. We'll leave it open really until the week before the convening. There's no reason to really shut it down early for us. We definitely want you all to be intentional in regards to who you invite to specific sessions. So again, you saw the schedule for the first day when we're having specific presenters come and talk on the why Juntos and why it needs to be sustainable. And what does that mean, right? So who do you want at the table? This is an opportunity. I mean, I'm thinking of California, Illinois, for your state 4-H lead to be part of that conversation, right? For them to commit to being part of that conversation if this is a program that they're investing in. So again, it's the way you market it, it's up to you. The way you communicate with these individuals is up to you. But I think it'll be crucial for us to be intentional on who we invite from our states and the opportunity that that creates. So for the other more intentional workshops, like the ones that are or sessions that are focused on the components and evaluation, you know, those can be more us and whoever else are, you know, really focusing in on those areas. So we are really giving you all the freedom as you look at the schedule, once we have it for you to look at, for you all to be intentional within your states on who you're going to invite for those sessions. Like you saw in previous slides, we definitely want at least one person from each state to commit to attending the whole convening. So at least one person, which is not, I don't think it's a lot to ask. I know a lot of you will have multiple people from your state actually participating. One of the things for us to think about is how do we market for this event? So I know with Academy, one of the things we were able to do is reach out to the university, the college as well, College of Ag, and local news, even the Spanish local stations, and they all decided to cover the Academy, you know, the virtual Academy, which was interesting. We ended up doing Zoom calls with all these media people. It was so weird, but you know, it worked out. But what an opportunity, right? For the university to tell a story about a program that you are implementing in your university that's impacting youth. And so for us here in North Carolina, we are going to think through what are ways that we can highlight the before and the after of this national convening. So we will probably do what we did for Academy. We relived Academy the week after Academy happened, you know, through social media. So if you all have any other ideas, for sure, let's talk about them. We talked about identifying youth. I'll let Nancy talk a little bit about the hotel reservations that you all made to North Carolina. She's got some insight on that, some information.
I did reach out to the hotel and they have canceled everything if you feel, I have asked specifically twice now if all of the hotel reservations for the rooms were canceled. And she just keeps saying, I'm in receipt of your email. Most of the people that work at the hotel actually are laid off right now. So it goes to one person. So she's probably swamped in getting everything, and they're making sure everything's canceled. So if you feel more comfortable calling and making sure your reservation is canceled, that would be fine. But they have told me that everything has been canceled. So you should not have to worry about your hotel at all. And then check your flights. I'm sure you did that when it happened in March, but if you've rescheduled, see if you can just cancel those for September as well. And I don't know if they're still doing money back or just giving you credit, but just double check on your flights as well.
Awesome. Any questions so far?
Yeah, Scott, I think that's some good information there, particularly if it gets, maybe it's the states are interacting or the counties are interacting with each other ahead of time for that little bit of that pre-work, just to know who others may be coming from. Like if I've got multiple counties, they won't know who each other are before coming together, and that might actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from you, Scott, is maybe I can create a template email that you all could then glamorize to fit your people, or what, and then send it off. I think it's a good idea to share the article that just came out on Juntos.
Yeah, I'm certainly open to any opportunities or possibilities. The point is to, when people show up for the convening, they're ready to go to work. They already have some investment and some momentum behind them.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. For my end, I know we will be communicating with you all through email mostly. I'm going to be reaching out to some of you specifically so that you can support with leading some of the sessions that we'll be doing. So some of you have already been reached in the past when you're going to present live. And so you know who you are. You'll probably be doing it here virtually as well. Yeah, but figuring out how to really communicate this story is going to be huge, for sure. Sure. Any other thoughts?
I'll jump in again real quickly. I just got another email, and the hotel Marriott said that she will double check and make sure that everyone's individual reservations are canceled.
Thank you, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, Deanna, if people had time, I'd like to quickly share, if they have time, I can just send out a link later on to show that the virtual campus that I was talking about, and you can all check it out for free afterwards.
Yeah, we have time. This is my last slide, and I want people to ask questions and give ideas.
Can you give me share screen abilities, and I will pop it up for you.
Go ahead and see if you have access.
Yep. Okay, so just this is called Virbela. Where I'm at right now is a virtual world sitting at a table. So let me walk out, and this is the virtual campus where I'm at. And in the virtual campus, you create your profile, your avatar, whatever. And there's lots of places here. So I'm going to do a little drop down up here. You can see they have, and there are fees related to this one, although it could pretty easily be covered by some of our additional funds or whatever. So there's a conference hall, there's classrooms, there's little boardrooms, exposition hall. So if you've ever been to a conference in the exposition hall, that's where they have the tables and your poster boards. I'll go there right now, so it'll transport me there. And there's lots of little places in this Virabella suite, this virtual campus, that allow for private conversations. So you can see people, but they're in these little, like where I was just sitting at just when we first started in there. There are lots of little places like that where you can have conversations with each other, like 3 or 4 people having a small conversation. Maybe it's a county or state gathering together. Sorry, my computer's being a little bit slow and it's going to the conference hall here. So here's the exposition hall. See these little blue rings right here? Those allow you to walk in and have a private conversation. All the boards here can be made up into your own way to create whatever it is you'd like to have. There's classrooms and so on. All I'm doing is just sharing this when we're looking at this in California for a couple of our conferences. Here's the kicker. So if it can be done on a device, it can be a phone, an iPad, or your computer, but you have to have the ability to download the software. So that would limit. This is not run off of web-based architecture, so you'd have to be able to download the software, but it's on phone and here. You can walk around doing it. I can run also. And then go down here into the exhibit hall. So again, there's all these little places like this one. I just wanted to share this as an opportunity. We're going to get some pricing here, I think on Wednesday, to finally figure out what it's going to look like. But I'm going to share one more quick screen here of some shots that I took this last weekend on Friday, pictures from the event page. So that you can get on a boat and hang out if you want to. This is a pose over the lighthouse. This is a auditorium picture here. Where you can sit down and have people look forward, have a presenter. Their stuff can be up on the screen. You have little laser pointers to take a look at that information. And then, I've got one more here. There's a classroom picture as well. So you can have these little classrooms that lock down and have little conversations. So all the things that you would do at a normal conference can be achieved through this site. Again, there is a cost here, but I'm just showing you kind of the image of what we did here. This room's locked, so there's like 5 people in here can converse. So this is called Virbella, and I'll put it in the chat pod so you can all check it out on your own.
That's crazy. Yes,
it is. Again, this is. I don't know that it would be as friendly to our colleagues as it would be to our youth members. They would probably pick it up very easily and go right to it. You would need to practice a little bit ahead of time. Here is the website. There. It didn't make it as a link, clickable link, but it's virbella.com.
Yeah, I think I'd have problems with it. Whoa.
I just keep telling people it's very similar to if you've ever played any first or third person game. You can sit down and you watch it, but it's like Minecraft and Roblox and these other games that kids play very commonly, even the youngest kids. So
it looked like a video game. That's why I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yes.
So any thoughts? What are you guys thinking? What is any ideas? I know I just saved the chat messages because there's some really good ideas in there. What are we missing? What does NC State need to do in order to make sure that there's true engagement? We've talked a lot about that, but anything new?
So I think in preparation for this, any of the presenters or the people that are going to come that day, it might be important to host sort of an orientation with them on whatever software we're using and provide them the tools. So I've done lots of these webinars and evaluation, and I've always say one person should just be in charge of the technology and let the presenter present. So that they're not worried about chat pod, they're not worried about popping up the screen except for their own presentation, that kind of stuff. So it might be good to host for those who aren't familiar with it, at least the back end. And I'm putting my hand up saying I can do that, something I can absolutely do, but some short orientation, hour long, a week or two in advance so that people are prepared as they're creating their presentations or discussions.
In the chat box, Amy said making time to discuss how evaluation will need to pivot as programming pivots, depending on how our program modality may need to shift in the fall for evaluation and research protocol.
Yes, I know in regards to evaluation this year, we are calling families. The parents were definitely calling and having a conversation. Casey can talk a little bit about that too. She's on the call, but definitely with the students, you know, they're doing it by phone or computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you like me to talk about the evaluation for Academy recently? That worked out really well.
Yeah. You can give some highlights.
Allow me to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so students overall, we had a good response rate, and that we had 42 students respond to the pre and post surveys. So that was really good out of about 60 overall, which 2/3 is high for what we've typically gotten for our students coming to Academy. And we had, we asked about technological issues as a potential concern, and we're able to use the free surveys to mitigate some of the problems and issues that students were concerned about facing in that regard, which I think contributed to a better experience for many of the students. When students responded about things that they really enjoyed, they really enjoyed mostly reflection times. They got it seems like from what I looked at with our learning objectives, they were very high. They were comparable even with our in-person academy from last year. So I found that to be pretty interesting. But also they did state in their qualitative responses that they would prefer to be in person next year if they could. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to answer if I can.
Any other questions? We are hoping to publish on that experience too. So there's great partnerships that took place. So we have to tell the story. Any other thoughts in regards to convening? I mean, as I think about specifically the first day and the voices that are going to be heard, is there an opportunity to bring in your partners that have really impacted the work there, or your potential partners, so other funders, your school administrators, right? Your superintendents, your principals. Are those the folks that we need to invite? That I'm asking you that question. I mean, I'm just now thinking through as I think about these superintendents that we're communicating with, and we've got 2 superintendents that are new counties for us. And do I want them to listen to that conversation? Do I want the community college president of one of our counties to listen into that, conversation that first day? Yeah, I do. But just thinking through, what is it that we want out of this as much as we're going to get out of it? Same thing maybe, but not the same.
And I wondered if, I know this is different, but if there could be a time for like kind of general overall information, I mean, for partners. Remember, like when we used to do trainings, that we used to do like one session at the end or the beginning for external partners. Because sometimes the problem is that if people is not that familiar with with Juntos, so they may get lost. But if we have like an overall, maybe if there is an opening with a keynote with the, the 4-H leaders, all that too, so that partners can hear and see, especially and feel the support that we have from all these different groups levels. Because also I think that maybe that could be an opportunity for inviting interested states, like you were saying earlier. But again, if there is people that's not that familiar with Juntos, then maybe it's just create a time for them when they can be part of, learn, and if they wish, they can engage in other activities. But something so they don't get lost, but they don't get lost in that conversation, but they get actually informed and get excited. So.
Yeah, I think about two things I want to accomplish, right? Creating an opportunity for what, Cynthia just said. I know I touched this with Scott earlier. Two, is this an opportunity to invite new states that are interested in these partners, right? That know Juntos, but maybe they don't know it at a deeper level. But then we also want to make sure that we have those deep conversations with us. Because we're doing the work, we're engaged, we're committed. And so it's being able to be, here at the soft level and also be able to engage in deeper conversation that's going to take us to the next level. And that's, that's not an easy flow to think about. So, yeah.
And then Holly had a question. She said, can Aaron Sanchez Guerra help with the storytelling, at least locally?
Remind me who Aaron Sanchez is. My head's like not connecting this.
He's a team captain at Academy 1 or 2 years, maybe. But he's now graduated and he's working for the News and Observer and doing a lot of Latinx pieces.
Yeah. We contacted them and they did not connect with us, but we definitely have a couple of students. I mean, I'm thinking of Kenny Morillo was just a team captain. He came to us 11 years ago and was he was going to go back to his country for because he was undocumented and he wanted to be a doctor and he knew he wanted to do this. And right before he was about to leave, DACA came into play. And so he made the decision to stay. Went to community college, paid out-of-state tuition, sold tamales with his mom to pay for that out-of-state tuition. 10 years later, he just got accepted to medical school and he was a team captain this year. DACA happened last week. He shared that story. So I think definitely there's people that could, Holly, you made me think that maybe it's worth having him get in front of the camera and tell that story. And maybe that can be a pre-conference, pre-convening.
There's so much value to that, and I'm wondering if it's nothing other than maybe you guys just do a short video with him and send that out with pre-conference, visual and participation. That the strength in that story right there, I wouldn't underestimate that.
Crazy. Him and his family all had COVID-19. His dad's in the hospital right now, but he did the convening. Oh my gosh, it's just like the story goes on and on. But yeah, and I know you guys have those stories too. So, but yeah, that's a really good idea, Holly. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Just say just a few little things. So we're super excited about this, but one thing I wanted to remember is I know myself, and I don't want to speak for Eddie, but we're really nervous about the fall, and because we have so many, we're going to have about 80 kids in during school, and we just came out, Eddie just shared what the superintendent was talking about in terms of our schedule and alternate days, and can you hear me? And all those different things. So I'm really worried. You can tell by my voice. I'm just like, oh. So this is super exciting, but I'm worried about being able to attend. Eddie, we'll have to work it out to attend because we have to be in the classroom. And then also thinking about the superintendents and how to engage them, because they're going to be worried about the numbers. And so engaging them is going to be interesting as well. So I just want everybody to know I'm worried mostly. And we have a lot of things to think about. So that's all I really wanted to say.
No, thank you, Gretchen. And that's reality, right? We do Juntos completely different next fall and possibly spring, and that's our reality. And so it's thinking through how is this virtual experience an opportunity to relate the message of what we want for the community, for the students. Yeah. Yep. I think we're in a good crossroads though, because administrators and education, they know they don't have all the resources, and we could be that platform that provides a resource that is greatly needed in our community. And that's what I'm hearing from individuals and some leaders is what, which will mean, like somebody said, how are we going to pivot, make that change within our program to really fit the needs of our community right now. So I like that. Yep. Scott, thank you. That's good. Yep. All right. So Bianca, do you want to ask them the last question to see how we're all feeling before we go?
Absolutely. So now that we have all this information, how do we feel about virtual convening? Maybe some changes, maybe not. It's okay if it's not.
Just for other folks, if you didn't look, there's a new code up there. I used the wrong one again.
Yes, new code. Code is 770973 for those of you. Might be a little hard to see. I like how excited is staying big. And if anybody wants to share their word or why they chose their word, feel free. I see a lot of positive words. Hopefully you didn't just put something positive because you feel like that's what's expected, but I hope that everybody is feeling a little bit more positive. We have a plan. We have vision. We're going somewhere.
And we're definitely open to more ideas. So, you guys know you can reach me at any time. We can have conversations. I am not planning for another Zoom call, but, if ideas come across and we feel like we need to have a conversation, we can definitely schedule one. But I definitely think that the convening ideas that you all came up with during this call are important as we make sure that we're intentional in moving this forward. So I appreciate that. I definitely got a lot out of this conversation, so it has helped me. That is all we have for this call. We will stay on to answer questions or have more conversations for a little bit, but thank you all so much. I did record this, so I'll send it with an email once the whole recording is saved. So it might be tomorrow, but I appreciate all of you. Thank you for everything you're doing. I know Juntos is just a little bit of the work that you all do. So just grateful for your commitment to this work and to the community that we all know is suffering right now in North Carolina. We are top community positive for COVID-19. So I don't know what's happening in your states, but that is our reality right now. And so we know we need to be there for them, and we will be there for them. So thank you all so much for your passion and your work. Care.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Andrew, how are you? Are you going to talk? You're
Doing
so
great. Yeah, everything's going really great here. It's great to see
good.
everyone.
Are you working from home, or are you actually in the office?
Yeah, I'm at home.
Yeah. Very good.
Just like
Very
everybody
good.
is.
Do what?
Right. That was with my wife in Wales all back.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
And it's moving. So any thoughts?
Thoughts from my end? Yeah, I love the ideas that came out of this meeting. I think y'all just have such good inspiration going on. I would love to be a part of it. I'd love to see if I can get some Texas students to get involved, if there's any remaining students here in San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll need to have these conversations. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So Courtney finally got in touch with us by email and just introduced us to the new 4-H person, but he hasn't followed up at all. So yeah, I don't know. So
I'll follow up. I can be a Texas rep. Try to work on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, team. How did you guys feel? We good? Yeah. We took good notes. I saved the chat conversation stuff. So
Jasenia had started notes and I kept with them, so I'll share those with everybody.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Her notes are awesome.
It's interesting to see which components for the youth kind of stood out. I saw a lot of enthusiasm for the poetry section. I was like, oh, wow, okay. I thought that was going to be like something that nobody voted on, but it was like, wow, okay. So,
yeah.
Does that mean like is slam poetry like coming back for youth? Is it something they like, or no? That was just a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, no, they did do that a couple of years ago. Go ahead, Natalie.
I was gonna say, I think the students like it after, but at the beginning when you tell them that they're gonna do that, they're like, ugh. So I think the way that we present it to them will be very important, because they already don't like it at the beginning until after everything is said and done, and being virtual, it's gonna be a little bit more challenging, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be done a different way. So we'll have to figure out. I think what I'm leaving with after this conversation is how intentional we're going to have to be, because professionals are going to be, unfortunately, just because of who we are, we're going to be dictating. What is this about? What, you know what I mean? Like it's, so I think
there's a lot of expectations. People
Yeah.
already have a lot of expectations.
So the pre-conference and the messages will be important. I think we can work possibly, we can work to create a video through with Kenny. I think the libraries could help us do that. I think we can definitely do a couple of videos. So that'll be intentional. So I think we have a lot of pre-work to do during and post. That will need to be intentional for sure.
Do we have videos for sorry, just saw his hand. Do we have videos for students like that came to Academy?
I do, Natalie. I have a bunch of interviews from Caitlin. She actually just put a bunch in her county folder, so I'm going to transfer them.
Because I think we can share those. That'd be awesome, just to so they can see. I'm not sure what they haven't done, but just listening to students, I think, will be a good prep for them.
Yeah. So a lot of thinking through. So I need to sit down and just think through what.
Oh, and when Holly was saying about contacting the person, does she have contact with them? Because maybe she's the one that can reach out to him.
That would make more sense than us just blindly asking.
Because you connected with them, didn't you, Bianca? Yeah.
I called. I called and left a voicemail. Nobody answered or returned my call. So,
maybe follow up with her and see if she. Well, I mean, we should have. Let me see if I have like. I think he was a student at App State. I think. I mean, I couldn't remember his name for.
Now that we have his name, we might be able to actually look him up on News and you said News and Observer, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Might be able to contact that way.
So yeah, we can reach out to him and see. But News and Observer is not really the. I don't know. What do you guys think? They're just waiting.
I mean, who reads the local newspaper anymore? Like, who reads that?
Yeah. I mean, if he wants to do a story, awesome, we'll take it. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. Yeah, we should reach out to him.
And I think reaching out to the radio, I forgot their name. I don't remember, 101.6 or something like that. I forgot that one. But there was a person from, I think, what is it called? Graduate the other day, and she was talking about like different programs that are there to help the youth, and she actually mentioned Juntos in there. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder, so who do you want to reach through the local media? You know, are you wanting to reach like potential funders? Are you wanting to reach like families that could be potentially served by Juntos?
I think more than anything for us, it's telling the story of this national convening of this program that started in North Carolina, and it's like it's more about that to see where it goes.
So the world is our audience.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but that's the story we want to tell, right? I think there's the story we want to tell to the media and through our social networks, but then there's the pre-conference that needs to be intentional, so that our states can use whatever we create to then reach out to their partners and their stakeholders and their leaders and their universities and extension.
I wonder if, so Janice and Juana have been working, so Janice that I work with at ISA, and Juana that used to be with us, but it's now at CFNC, and Pablo from DPS have been hosting like these bi-weekly charlas. And it would be interesting to see if like maybe you representing Juntos and then maybe somebody from Latinx Ed and somebody from Guadalupe could do a charla as a panel that would be like a conversation about, inspiring folks about how they get these programs in their local schools. Camila, say hi. Everybody's, he's so goofy.
He's there. Happy birthday. Feliz cumpleaños.
Oh, Diana said happy late birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't remember what his birthday.
He said he's forgotten what a birthday is. But that, as a way to like spur families to get out there and self-advocate in their schools. I don't know. There might be a kind of a cool pre or post conference thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they've been running them. I try to like at night when they're doing them live. It's crazy how much work they're putting into it. But yeah, no, definitely. We can have that conversation if they're interested in doing something like that, for sure. Yeah, so for us, it's just really taking the information that we got and really being intentional with it and moving forward. the poetry, I think at the end of the day, what they want out of the kids is for them to have an experience that's fun, engaging, because, but also like intentional. So, but it was good to get their feedback on that. The poetry thing is just going to have to be different if we're going to do something like that. Or is it a visual that they create, or is it, we'll have to be creative.
Yesenia and I were talking through, and she was saying that we could totally still do our idea that we had. We would just have to change how it's being done, obviously, but
Maybe even using Padlet so that we can make it all like visual and everyone sees as they're joining. Maybe having a way of like making one on the far right, but we're just adding things together. Like,
yeah,
I still think the vision mapping is still something we can do as well, using that as well too.
Was it the poetry idea that we had, was it a newspaper and then they were blacking things out, or which one was it?
Well, I was talking about the art project that Yesenia and I
Okay.
were gonna do with like the different states making up a map basically, but that could all be done digitally.
Yeah, that could be a good visual if they create their own state and maybe put a word, maybe it's a word, and then it becomes a word map of like their Juntos.
That'd be awesome.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And I think in regards to the poetry, from what I remember it's like they're coming up with their own like sentence and then they're making it into one giant unified poem. I think we can still do that, maybe using Padlet and like seeing people like refine it as they're going through it. I think the only thing that's gonna take some real finessing is like the time limit, since we only have 2 hours each day. So it's gonna have to be real intentional, real fast, because I also gotta be the one thing that I learned from Academy is that we gotta get back more breaks. We gotta be able to make sure that they have time between. So if anything, it's 45 minutes and then 15-minute break and then maybe another 45.
I think you can make them short breaks, like 5 minutes, so that they can go use the bathroom, go get water or something like that. I think those are a little bit better for them than giving them long break and then long time. Like,
it's only 2 hours.
I was gonna say, actually, it's only 2 hours. Like,
they play video games for 5 hours straight. They'll be okay.
Well, some of them did comment specifically on that in their post surveys, though, asking for bathroom breaks because they would get up and they felt like they were missing content.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting, because we just had that conversation with Casey about those comments being there, and I'm like, I'm with them, because sometimes I had to leave and go like.
I had to run down the hall like between. I totally understand where they're coming from. So like having that built in. So when it comes to making this program for the convening, like making sure that there's that built-in break, because even though they're right there in front of the computer, they still need that little bit of time away from it.
Yeah, like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Go.
You get 5, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like survey wise, like I think to help, Gina or Casey develop that post survey for both audiences, it's really thinking through like, what is it that we want? I think for us, I want to gather information from them on, what are they going to do moving forward, or what was it that impacted what, or like, what is it about this component that they would like to see differently, like things like that, to yes, a little bit of like, what could we have done better, what worked well, but more like they need to give a concrete plan of.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to think really hard about what it is that you want to measure in folks getting stuff out of the sessions. Like, do you want to measure whether or not they're gonna use what they learn in the session? Do you want to measure whether or not they learned new things in the session? Do you want to measure whether or not they enjoyed the sessions? So thinking about like, what is that key word that you're really hoping that folks will take away? And maybe you do 2 different ones for each session. Maybe you're concerned about two kind of areas in the way that we do with with Academy where we do enjoyment and also like learning. But you gotta, you're gonna have to decide that. And then from there, the building of it will be pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go process through.
Yeah, I put Aaron's email in the chat.
I saw
Put
it
it on the
I got it.
notes too.
Okay. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
And Russell's going to be hard to satisfy, but he's going to be the only one. He wants something cool and unique and conference-like, not just a
I mean, you
Zoom.
saw his Zoom background, so.
I know. He was in a fighter jet for Star Wars with R2-D2 in the back. And the walls, that was driving me crazy because I don't think he realizes that stuff goes flying by and people have to look at that. But yeah, but you know, he's just one person. We'll do what we can do, and having fun can be some of it, but accomplishing something is more important. So
yeah,
I think as long as we are having conversations, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, what are the conversations that we're having?
I think what will be really important is the message before and after, right? Like, so anything that we do, why are we doing this? And what are we gaining from it? You know what I mean? Like why, and then the what did we gain from it? So that they can move forward with the information and do what they need to do. The pack, yeah. But I think that that's going to be intentional. Like if we can identify through each session that we have that and we can do it, then we're good to go, because then they can't come back to us and say, well, what did we do? And because we can be like, no, this is what this session was about and we accomplished it. So.
I like that Caitlin was putting a hashtag to it. I don't know if you saw it, but we can make it national. She put hashtag 2020 Juntos Virtual Vision Part 2, but we can say Juntos National Virtual Vision. So because we did the student, now we're doing the professionals. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Double the vision, double the fun.
Double the vision.
Actually, I think it's technically double the blurriness if you have double vision, but they don't need to know that.
Well, I think what it made me realize though is that we need to, decrease. We've got a couple of things that we have to do in the next 2 months. The staff retreat and convening need to be the top 2 things that we focus on with everything else that's going on. But really, those are the 2 things that we need to focus most of our attention on. 20%, the other stuff that gets there. So,
yep.
All right.
Do you have a second, Diana? I just wanted to ask about the last part of the Orange County meeting.
Yeah, sure. Bye, Nancy. Bye, Natalie. Bye, Juan.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
I just wanted to see how it ended, because obviously they don't want to fund a person, or they can't, and I have a feeling that that's something we're going to be hearing from other school systems at this point. So
yeah. I mean, I think after it's all said and done, I do feel that this conversation was productive, because it brought in people that didn't even know about Junto. They knew it was happening, but didn't really realize what we were doing.
I think he's probably coming late, whoever this person is. Hello?